My name is Adelle Onyango. I am a Kenyan media entrepreneur and personality, and I'm also the founder and host of a weekly podcast called Legally Clueless, and the founder of the Adelle Onyango initiative that works to help survivors of sexual violence get access to psychosocial support. So in my experience, I think I learned from my own journey and my own story to be able to create what I did not have. So in 2008, I unfortunately survived rape. And at that time, nobody was talking about sexual violence, nobody was talking about rape. And that made me very angry because I felt like I had experienced this thing that I didn't ask for, and that was so violent. I was only 18 years at the time. It was my first sexual experience. And yet the country was just moving like these things don't happen. Coming up with Safe 247, I think came directly from my story, in that I want survivors to be able to access quality psychosocial interventions from professionals at no cost to them. I think it's very unfair that you have to survive this violent ordeal and still have to then navigate your healing with tools and resources that you probably do not have. And that really did start off Safe 247. And I think that's where transformative leadership is born. I think one of the misconceptions people have is that making a change and leading a change is a responsibility for somebody else. It's a responsibility for somebody who looks like this or talks like that or comes from this background. I think it starts with your story. In my 9 to 5, I do host a weekly podcast called Legally Clueless. And I started this podcast in 2019 after being on traditional broadcast media for 10 years. And I realized that a lot of Africans were not getting their stories heard. There was a lot of censorship, bias when it comes to real, raw African stories getting time on traditional media platforms. Hi, welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless podcast. Thank you for rocking with this podcast. Really excited to have you as part of the tribe. There's one moment last year in partnership with Oxfam. During the pandemic, of course, we saw there was a rise in cases of domestic violence, sexual violence, as soon as we went into lockdown in Kenya. And this, by the way, was the case in quite a few other countries as well. And so I had to go into different communities and record stories of survivors. But this particular time, the story was so heartbreaking, you know? There were so many, in a pandemic, stories of somebody who's probably close in age to what my mom would be if she was alive, getting raped while trying to get to a hospital, and her 4-year-old son getting sodomized. Why I think it's important to bring this up is that I just think it's so unfair for survivors to have to navigate their healing and fix the flaws in the community that have cost them so much. I also interacted with the Wangu Kanja Foundation, and when I went on ground there, 3 of the workers were also survivors. So we're navigating our healing and trying to fix things that nearly broke us in the community. That feels very unfair to me.
As a society, one of the things we need to do is create a safe environment for everyone to share their experience without you judging them, without you looking at them funny, because at the end of the day,
stigmatizing them. Yeah. One way that I've spoken about before that people can have their voice heard and say, hey, I'm not comfortable with us having 35,000 stillbirths a year. I'm not comfortable with having over 300,000 teenage pregnancies a year. So if that's you, there's a petition that you can sign to actually demand for better services for mothers, demand for more information to go into equipping teenagers with information, equipping them with safety,
but also prevention.
And prevention. And also, one part that I'm also very sensitive about is the mental health of teenage mothers. I am very hopeful for Kenya. Due to the nature of my work, I've met so many young thought leaders and like movers and shakers who are so young and so eager to just change even just their community. So that always reinforces to me, okay, we're in good hands, you know, and it keeps fueling my hope. A transformative Kenya for me, I think it would be a country where women and girls are safe, where we can do mundane, everyday things without wondering or worrying about our safety. I want a Kenya where that doesn't hang over me like a prison, and I'm allowed to live in a safe and a dignified way as a Kenyan woman.